25, 26. Sige, I'll start na. All right. So, the last time that we had our coverage or our discussion is about how to do different sampling methods, right? If you remember it. Sampling methods. And if you remember, I discussed 4 different sampling methods. And these are first, the random sampling method. What else? What's that to? Um, the random sample, random. Second was systematic. The third was stratified. And the fourth was cluster. Cluster. No? Now, if you still remember, the definition of a population, guys, P, is the total or the entirety of the population or objects that are under study. So when you say population, it's kanatibukan, tanan siya, guys. So population means to say the totality of the objects, or it can be people under study. That's population under study. And then when we pick sample, it should be within the population. In other words, sample is just a subset of the population. Now, when we pick population, guys, it should have or it should possess the characteristics similar to when we pick sample, it should have the same characteristics nga naapod sa population. Kay dili man na siya mo make sense nga imong sample size imong gikuha outside of the population. Let's say, for example, I want to study about the behavior of block E, 11E, your block. And then akong gikuha nga sample size is from different block or different section. It wouldn't make sense. Ganun mukuha man kog sample size outside of block E nga akong focus in the first place ang block E man. So akong kaon nga sample should be coming from block E, not from other section. Clear? So, under the population, guys, natin gitawag nga mga values or numerical components. We have this symbol, and this symbol. This is what we call the population mean, the population standard deviation, and this is the population variance. These three, we call them as parameters. Parameters. How do we define parameters, guys? Parameters are numerical descriptors from the population, or numerical values from the population. If we're going to take it from the sample size, under the sample size, guys, nasa ito gitawag nga sample mean, sample standard deviation, o sample variance. Take note of the symbols, ha. Mo ni ang symbol sa sample mean, mo ni ang symbol sa sample standard deviation, and mo ni ang symbol sa sample variance. And all of these three are what we call statistic. Statistic without S. And this means to say statistic are numerical descriptors nga gikan sa sample. Descriptors from the sample. No? Okay. Let's say, for example, si Pia, na siya 5 kabog subjects nga take her na semester. And these are the following grades sa iyang mga subjects. 89, 90, 82, 91, 86. So this is the population. Kani siya tanan mo ni ang population. Kanang 5 kabog subjects nga iyang take for the entire semester. Population niya ha. Now, if you want to make, or if you want to solve for the population mean, try to take out 89, try to take the sum of 89, 90, 82, 91, and 86 divided by 5, you would get pila 82 plus 91 plus 86. You would get 438 divided by 5. The answer is 87.6. This is the population mean. Mao ni siya nga atong gisolve here. Kana, and that's why I am using this symbol sad. Now, let's say for example, I'm gonna pick a sample. So in other words, out of these 5 ra gyud makuha ko grado nga gawas aning 5. And that's going to be, let's say, I'm gonna take the 89 grade randomly and 82 and I have 91. So this is the sample now. If you want to solve for the sample mean, guys, ang imong symbol na should be this one. Kuha, pila man na 89, 82, 91. If you're going to divide it, if you're going to take the average plus 82 plus 91, 262 divided by 3, the answer is 87.3. Tama? Now, sir, I noticed nga sa kaning example that you just gave me, sir, or just gave us, sir, there's a little issue that I wanna raise. Nga naman, you notice that, sir, you said earlier nga ang sample size should possess the same characteristics that is coming from the population or that are coming from the population. The population that you have for PS grade, sir, or the population mean that you have for PS grade is 87.6. However, when you pick the sample out of the population, sir, you got a mean of 87.3. Are they supposed to be equal, sir? Because you said earlier nga dapat ang sample size should possess the same characteristics sa population. If the mean of the population is 87.6, I should have the same sample mean nga 87.6. Pero ang resulta diri, sir, 87.3 man. So unsa ni na something wrong? There's nothing wrong actually, guys. Ang kalahian sa mean sa population o ang mean sa sample size, gitawag na nato siya og standard error. Meaning to say, dili all the time nga mag-equal ang population mean o ang sample mean. So definition that you need to consider, guys, is first, the difference between the value of a sample statistic, and the corresponding population parameter is dili standard error, sampling error din. Sorry, my bad. Sampling error. Sampling error. So, kani siya, guys, ha? Take note. Ang kalahian daw or ang difference daw between the value of the sample statistic. So the sample statistic is kani. This is statistic from this situation here kanini. Statistic. Ang difference daw aning duha, sample statistic and the corresponding population parameter. So unsa may corresponding population parameter sa sample mean? Diba it's population mean? Tama? So if we're going to take the difference anang duha, guys, which is 87.3 minus 87.6, the answer I think is negative, if I'm not mistaken. Minus 87.666. The answer is negative 0.33. 0.33. This is what we call the sampling error. The difference between the value of a sample statistic and the corresponding population parameter is, we call it sampling error. This is the sampling error of the means. Sampling error of the means. Nganong means man siya, sir? Because I'm only considering the means of the population and the the means of the population and the mean of the sample size. Sir, naapoy sampling error for the standard deviation. Naapoy sampling error for the variance. Now, guys, the only thing that you need to do is you need to solve for the standard deviation of the population. So standard deviation ani katong try to review sa ang pag-solve on our previous discussion. Also the standard deviation of the sample. You you subtract those two numbers, then that's going to be the sampling error of the standard deviation. The same thing puts a variance, guys. You solve for the variance from the population as well as the variance of the sample size. You get the difference. The answer na imong gisolve is the sampling error for the variance. Question so far? Wala. Wala question, guys, so far. Easy pa, no? Mm-hmm. Um, Sige, if you have any questions, guys, just type in sa our chat box. No, wala pa questions so far. Okay. So here, another definition that you need to consider, guys, is um, the probability distribution. I hope mabasa na siya, no? Of a statistic. Statistic is called sampling distribution. Okay. So I'm gonna try to explain this definition first, guys. Okay. Kani siyang probability distribution, I believe everyone knows unsay pasabot ani. Unsa ganiti requirements for it to be probability distribution? Dapat the sum of all the probability values should be equal to 1. And each probability value should be within the interval 0, 1 inclusive. Meaning to say, 0 and 1 are part of the interval. So dili dapat mo lapas sa 1, di po dapat mo below sa 0. Dapat naragid between atong interval. Those are the two requirements. And then again, I'll repeat. The second one was if you're going to get the sum of those intervals or no, of those probabilities, the answer should be equal to 1. It is a statistic because we're dealing with sample. This time, we're now dealing with sample sizes, guys. We're no longer dealing with the population. We're dealing with the sample that we pick. Okay? Now, if you would be able to see a probability distribution given sa sample, we call it a sampling distribution. Okay, statistic man siya, di ba? Remember, the statistic that we have is kanisha, sample or numerical descriptors from the sample. Next, the standard deviation of a sampling distribution is called the standard error or standard error. Spelling standard error. Standard error. I'll repeat, ha? So definition ani guys, whenever you have a standard deviation of a given sampling distribution, that's what we call the standard error. Para mas makasabot sa the definition, I'm going to give you an example. Okay. So, question so far, wala pa? Hopefully, no, ma-available dahil ng recording ani after a few minutes or few days para ma-upload lang nako sa Shallow kay I don't know what's going on with Shallow. Eh. Hinay gid siya. I asked other teachers, they are experiencing the same thing. Hinay jud daw. Okay, but anyway, at least naatay ka ng kuan, kanang second option, natay another option to continue our discussion. Okay. Questions so far, wala pa. Wala pa, sir, kay inani gining statistics, guys, kana ganing mostly kay kanang concepts and then wordy kay siya. This is also the thing that I hate sa stat kay wordy kay kalas og laway si chika. Anyway, so let's have an example. Suppose you have a discrete, sorry, wrong spelling, discrete numbers 0, 1, 2, 3. No? And then you pick a sample size, you pick a sample size of two elements with replacement. Okay. Kung sa may pasabot ani guys, ang imuhang choices, imong number of choices kay upatra, this is now your population. Clear? Nagets? Your sample size is only two. In other words, you have the freedom to choose two only out of those 0, 1, 2, 3. But every time you pick a sample, you have to replace it. There's a note here, replacement. So pila man kabuk possible ways to do this, sir. It's very easy. I'm gonna do the manual thing and I'm gonna explain later on how to do the shortcuts. So the manual thing, guys, is like this. Diba, I need two elements man, I need two sample size. Inigbut, let's say for example, randomly, mag-pick ko anang 0, 1, 2, 3. In the instance nga makapick ko 0 as my first element, kulangan pag-usa. Tama, I need two baya. Pick a sample size of two elements. So if makapick og 0, guys, whenever I pick that 0, dapat ilisan po na ko siya og 0. Balik nga to sa original number of choices. Kaya nakabutang with replacement man. That's the whole idea of replacement. Another example, kanang, wala mo kay box na rin. Sige, kaning cotton buds, no? For example, no? Kaning cotton buds, guys, no? Nagpick kog usa, inikuha na ko sa usa, guys, dapat ilisan to siya og another cotton buds. So technically, same lagi hapon siya, diba? So, inigpick na ko sa 0, guys. Inigpick na ko sa 0. Ang ikaduhan na ko nga mapick, pwede na ko mapick sa 0 again. Tama? Do you agree? Kruk, kruk, kruk. Yes, sir. Okay. Yes, sir. Kruk. So, in that case, pwede na ko mapick sa 0 and naparisan kang 1. Pwede na ko mapick sa 0, maparisan ni 2. Pwede na ko mapick sa 0, maparisan ni 3. Question so far? Wala. Wala, sir. Sunod, number 5. Pwede na ko mapick si 1, maparisan ni 0. Pwede sa mapick na ko si 1, maparisan by itself. Eh, pwede man ma-repeat ang, pwede man makakuha na balik siya kay with replacement ba ya? 7, pwede na ko mapick si 1 and 2. And 8, pwede na ko mapick si 1 and 3. Sunod, pwede na ko mapick si 2 and 0. 10, 2 and 1. 11, 2 and 2. 12, 2 and 3. Tama? 13, pwede na ko mapick si 3 and 0. 14, si 3 and 1. 15, si 3 and 2. And 16, si 3 and 3. There you go. So how many possible ways we can do that? Taking two people or two elements out of these four elements with replacement. The answer is 16. Sir, how did you know nga 16 siya, sir? Inani itong pwede gamitin, guys. We can use the power function nga p of x equals 2 to the power of x. The 2 here are the number of elements nga imong pilion. The number of elements that you're going to pick is 2. The x here is the number of choices that you would have. The number of choices you have is 0, 1, 2, 3. You have 4 choices. So this becomes 2 raised to the power of 4, or technically equal to 16. That's why I have 16 all in all. Gets? Are we good? Okay. Next, I'm going to take the mean of each sample. So this time, these are now statistic. Tama? Okay, again, statistic is a numerical descriptor for the sample. So pilay mean when you get the mean of 0 and 0? The answer is 0. Okay, you just have to add these two numbers, so divided by 2. The answer is 0 still. Kani siya pilay mean ani, that's 0.5. Kani pilay mean ani, that's 1. Kani pilay mean ani, that's going to be 1.5. Kani 0.5. Kani kay 1. 1 plus 2, 3, divided by 2, 1.5. Kani kay 1. Kani kay No, sorry, 2 din ni. 2 ni. Sakto ba ko 2 ni kay 1 plus 3, 4 divided by 2, 2. So, my bad. Kani kay 1, kani 1.5, kani 2, 4, 2, kani kay 2.5, kani kay 1.5, kani kay 2, 5, 2.5, ang kani kay 3, 6, 3. Tama? Do you get the idea ra yun sa nakapag-solve ang each mean? Wala rin question. Ako'y try to check daw if naba ko'y sayop sa akong mga means. Try daw. If nabay ka nang there's something wrong with the means that I have. Correct ratanan, no? Very good. Thank you so much, Rona. Correct ratanan. Okay. So, I'm gonna take this one here. Mean, not mean. Sample means. Now, I'm gonna take the frequencies, ha? So, frequencies. So, I have the mean of 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5. I have 2, 2.5, and I have 3. Pila makabuk ang 0? I only have 1 0 ra, usara. So 1. Pila ka book 0.5? 1, 2, 2, 2 ra. Pila ka book 1? Excuse me. 1, 2, 3. Tulo ka book 1. Pila ka book 1.5? 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 ka book 1.5. Pila ka book 2? 1, 2, 3. I have 3. Pila ka buok 2.5? Usa, duha, duhara, duha. So, and pila ka book 3, I only have 1. Now, if I'm going to plot this on a graph, guys, the frequency is the vertical line. So I have, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then these x or the means here, mo ni ato ibutang diri sa horizontal nga segment, 0 ni diri. And then kani siya kay 0.5. This is 1, 1.5. This is 2, 2.5. This is 3. Good. So we have first na to nga point kay naa diri because 0, 1. Second nga point is kana siya 0.52. 1 is 3. Good. 1.5 is 4. Good. 2 is 3. Somewhere here. And then 2.5 is 2. Here. Mga ana, estimated lang. 3 is equal to 1. Mga ana. If we're going to plot or if we're going to connect this line, guys, mo-approximate na siya into a standard normal curve. So, ano, imagine na lang guys ha. This is the standard curve. Familiar? The standard curve. Ano. So basically, guys, every time you pick a random number for your sampling distribution, mo approximate na siya always to the normal curve or the standard curve. Where you say normally distributed. Mo nang always a problem, guys, mo na siya nga assuming it's normally distributed. Okay, every time you pick your sampling distribution, mo tend na into normal distribution or standard curve. Now, I want you to, let's try to solve this one. Okay, try to see how it's up. Honey, try to solve for the mean of all of the population means. Ang pasabot ani guys, I want you to solve for the mean of the sample means, population mean. Mean of the sample mean. So kani siyang sample mean, di ba? Mao man yang sample means. I want you to solve what is the mean of all these sample means. So how to do that? You just add all these numbers and divide it by 7 ba? Sakto ba ko? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Tama? So try to solve it, guys. If What's your answer? Solve it. If you can answer 0, 0 plus 0.5 plus 1 plus 1.5 plus 2 plus 2.5 plus 3. Huh? 0 plus 0.5 plus 1 plus 1.5 plus 2 plus 2.5 plus 3. What's the answer? Crook, crook, crook. Thank you so much, Josh. 1.5. So the mean of all the means, guys, or the mean of the sample mean is equal to 1.5. Mo na ang mean sa sample mean, ha? Now, let's go back to the original given. Di ba remember, this is the population? Tama? Try to solve for the mean, ani. Kailan mean, ana? Kanang mean sa population. 1.5. Thank you so much, Mackenzie. Very good. It's 1.5 still. So what do you notice? What do you observe, sir? The population mean here is 1.5. And the mean of all the means of the sample, sir, is also 1.5. So, sir, they are equal. Amen? They are equal. Tama? Yes, sir. Equal ang mean sa population, equal sa ang mean sa sample. Unsay pasabot ani sir? Mahitabo lang ni siya guys nga magpareha ang population mean ug sample mean if and only if. Remember, if and only if inigpick nimo sa imong sample size, inigpick nimo sa imong sample element, inigkuha nimo sa kinatibuk ang population nimo nga naa diha, dapat na ay replacement. If naa gani replacement, always yun na nga ma-equal ang sample mean o population mean. Amen? Amen. Question? Walay question so far? Wala. Walay question, guys. Mama, sabta na so far, no? No questions at all. Okay. So, let's continue. Okay. Now, I want you to solve for try to solve for the standard deviation of this one here. Kaya ba, ka-remember pa mo sa pag-solve sa standard deviation, guys? Ka-remember pa mo? Kruk, 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 kruk. Kruk, kruk, kruk. Naka-remember pa mo sa ang pag-solve sa standard deviation. Okay, I'm just gonna show it to you guys, ha? Sige. To solve for the standard deviation of the means, ha? I'm dealing with this sample means, ha? It's like this. 0 minus 1.5 squared plus 0.5 minus 1.5 squared plus 1 minus 1.5 squared plus 2 minus 1.5 squared plus 2.5 minus 1.5 squared. Kulangan, no? Kulangan og 1. Ani diretso ko dapat mag-start pero 1 pwede ni dapat 1. So 1 no 1.5 minus 1.5 squared nga kani mo 2. Okay, nila-host like ko. So 2 minus 1.5 squared plus 2.5 minus 1.5 squared. And then lastly, plus 3 minus 1.5 squared. And then extend ang square root. All over, pila may n ani. Remember, n is a number of options or number of sample. Pila may number of sample ani or number of possible choices. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So you have 16 choices. There you go. Can you solve it, guys? I'm gonna give you 2 minutes. How do I live without you? I want to know. 0.5 minus 1.5 squared plus 1 minus 1.5 squared plus 1.5 minus 1.5 squared plus 2 minus 1.5, sorry, 2 minus 1.5 squared plus 2.5 minus 1.5 squared um, plus 3 minus 1.5 squared. Pila ni kabuok? Squared, uy, uplok. Lo! Yun na siya mo work. Ayun na lang. 0 plus 1 minus 1.5 squared plus 1.5 minus 1.5 squared plus 2 minus 1.5 squared plus 2.5 minus 1.5 squared plus 3 minus 1.5 squared. So I have, I think 7 ang numerator, tama? 7 ang numerator if I'm not mistaken. So this is square root of 7 over 16, which is technically equal to 7 over 4, square root of 7 over 4. If we're going to simplify that, that would be equal to, divided by 4, you would get 0.661, approximately 0.661. Okay, now remember that this is a standard deviation, tama? Unsa gito gisulti na to ganiha unsay definition sa standard deviation of a sampling distribution kay sampling distribution gani kani, diba, kani sampling distribution, normal curve, probability distribution. So sampling distribution siya, it says that the standard deviation of a sampling distribution is called the standard error. So this is now what we call the standard error. Standard error. O, di ba? Medyo taas-taas ang solution. Sir, naay ka ng quicker way of like um, um, quicker way of what's the changes the quicker way of doing things? What do you think? Wala ra, nagets ra? Okay. The formula, guys, if it's easier for you to work, we can also solve this doing this. The population standard deviation over square root of n. Kana. Sige. Balik ko na ko. Unsa itong population, guys? The population is 0, 1, 2, 3. If we're going to solve for the population standard deviation, ani guys, is it would be like this. Pila to average, ani, di ba? 1.5 man. 1.5 sad plus 1 minus 1.5 squared plus 2 minus 1.5 squared plus 3 minus 1.5 squared, okay, over pilay n, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. So let's try to solve it, no? So 0 minus 1.5 squared plus 1 minus 1.5 squared plus 2 minus 1.5 squared ngek ngok 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 1.5 squared plus 3 minus 1.5 squared over 4. The answer is 1.118. No? Now, sakto ba? 118. And then if we're going to do this, 1.118 divided by square root of 2. Um, 1.118 divided by square root of 16. Lahi lagi ang answer. But i-check na ko guys kung sakto ba niya ko ang standard deviation here. Kaya dapat kani nga formula, kani siya, mugawas gyapon na siya ang 0.0661. Wait ha, let me do the stat lang. 1 var. Z 0, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, AC shift 1 var population standard deviation equal 1.118. Sakto. Tapos, sakto lagi. So, mode, there's something wrong sa kong solution. 1.118 1.118 divided by square root of dapat ang n kay 2. Magawa siya 79. Ang answer kay 0.79054. There's something wrong. Wait sa guys ha. Sakto ba kanya kung ibutang diri? Wait sa guys. 0. Wait ha. Let me check. So minus. Sakto lagi akong ibuhat. 0 tapos 1, 2, 3, 6, 10, 16. The divisor should be 16. Wala ni nilabot. 0 na ni. Wait sa guys. Let me try to do it one more time. Okay, basig na ay sayop sa kung pag-plug in. Squared plus 1 minus 1.5 squared. And then, kanang 1.5 minus 1.5, 0 na na. 2 minus 1, I know. Lagi, sakto. 1.5 squared. Plus 2.5 minus 1.5 squared. Plus 3 minus 1.5 squared. 7. Sakto lagi ni. 7. Yeah. Kana siya, square root of 16. Square root of 16 is 4. So the answer is square root of 7 over 4. And the answer is 0.661. Nganong lahi siya answer using this one here? Inigbutang na ko ano, ang may tabuan ni is, ana, kani siya kay population standard deviation man ni, that's 1.118 over square root of n. The n for the population is upat ka buok 1, 2, 3, 4. Ana? Sakto ba? Wait. No. Dili. Sakto ba? Okay. I think so. So if we're going to do that, try sa nako ha. Sakto ba kung gibuhat? Square root of 4. 0.559. Weird. Guys, the idea is dapat mag-equal ni siya, kani siya, kaning solution here, inigbutang na ko ana dira guys, 1.118 over the square root of n. Ang n is number of options or number of choices. In this case, the number of choices nga naa sa nga naa sa sampling distribution is tagduha-duha, it should be, I know, sayop ako, wait sa ha, divided by square root of 2. Lahi lagi. Dapat kani siya, inibutang na ko ana, 1.118 over square root of 2. Dapat ang mugawas nga answer is kani. I'm not sure nga nung lahi siya answer. Kaya mugawas ani kay 0.7905 man. Dapat equal na siya guys. Maybe there's something wrong with my with how I plug in the numbers sa akong calculator. Kay ako mangi-calculate. But the whole idea guys is whenever you use this formula, kani siya, mo ni siya ang standard error of the means. of the sample means. Ha? Basig malipat na mo ba? Let's define na lang, sir, kung saan na ang answer o kung saan na ang kanang nasa babaw. Ang nasa babaw, guys, is the standard deviation. Ang ubos kay ang sample size. Sample size. Kana na lang. Kana na take note ninyo. Key. Dapat mo din siya answer. Nag-solve mo ano, dapat mo mo gawas nga answer. 0.661, which is a standard error. Now, doing the example, guys, let me take a screenshot of the example. Wait, ha? Kani. No? Kani. The assignment that we had, or the previous examples that we had, if you remember, mo na mga examples ay, let me take a screenshot. Kani. Sa example, sa assignment. Kani. So let's try to compare now sa kalahian. The example, guys, that we had is, it says, for a medical study, a researcher wishes to select people in the middle of 50% of the population based on the blood pressure. If the mean systolic blood pressure is 130 and the standard deviation is 9, find the upper and lower reading that would qualify people to participate in the study. So, unsay kalahian na niya if you're going to compare it to the kanang example nga you see there, kanang AC Nielsen. AC Nielsen reported that children between the ages 2 and 5 watch an average of 25 hours of television per week. Assume the variable is normally distributed and the standard deviation is 3 hours. If 20 children between the ages of 2 and 5 are randomly selected, find the probability that the mean of the number of hours they watch television will be greater than 26.3 hours. Now, ang kalahian magud aning duha ka example, guys, is ang kaning naa sa assignment nato, this is a probability distribution considering the population only. So if it's population lang alone, guys, it's going to be the formula that we used already. Ana siya. Ana. The actual score minus the mean of the population over the standard deviation. However, kaning a problem here, we are not considering the population. We are considering the sample. Nga naman, how did you know, sir? How do we know nga sample ang i-consider? Take a look at the situation, ha. Ana si AC Nelson daw, they claim na kanang guys, kanang mga edad yan 2.2 and 5 nga mga bata no kay ilang average of watching TV kay 25 hours gina sila. So that's the population na. Para ma-check if it's really true, a researcher picked 20 children. So the sample here now, guys, is 20 children na with the ages 2 until 5 are randomly selected. Next question, pangitaa ang probability nga ang mean sa number of hours nga motanaw sa television is greater than 26.3. Kaning mean nga greater than 26.3, guys, is not referring to the population, but it is referring to the sample size. Munang kalahian sa kaninga problem. Nga, unsa may formula gamitin, guys? The formula that we are gonna be using is this one, Z equals the mean, the sample mean, minus the population mean over the standard error, which is kanisha. And the formula for the standard error is the standard deviation of the probability sampling or sampling probability. So that's gonna be standard deviation over square root of n. No? So, sir, unsa man ni siya pag-solve dayon, sir, if we are asked for the probability? This is very easy, guys. The rule is the same thing as checking katong table gani nato before, katong Z table. Remember mo ato? We're still gonna be using it, but we just need to know, sir, unsa man nga variable akong isabisot sa mga values nga naa here. Okay. Unsa gani siya nga symbol? Unsa na siya nga symbol, guys? I need answers from you, so please type in. I wanna make sure nagkasinabot ta. Unsa na nga symbol akong gibutang ag arrow? There are 4 minutes na lang. There are 4 minutes na lang, guys. I need your cooperation. So please let me know. Sample mean, very good. Ang kanisya nga symbol, Unsa na nga symbol? Population mean, very good. Good job. Kani siya nga symbol. Standard deviation of the population or sample? Say, go back ko sa kani. 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 Asa man na siya? Asa man na diri? Standard deviation sa population or standard deviation sa sample? Of the population. Very good. Anya, ang kanang N, guys, or go down ha. Ang kanang N, ang kaning N is the sample size. So, based on the problem, kinsa may sample mean? Based on the problem, kinsa sample mean? Okay, usually sa itong mga test after midterms, kaya puro na word problems, guys. Nga. Ang challenging part ani is to determine as a sample mean, as a population mean, as a standard deviation, or as a sample size. So, kana nga example ka ng AC Nielsen, which is the sample mean? Wala? Okay, I'm just gonna answer my question ha kay. Okay, that is not the mean. That is just the ages nga dapat i-consider. So the ages from 2 to 5, maura na i-consider. I know guys nga, if it's a word problem gani, it's hard. I mean, not for me, but for you guys, it's, especially if bago pa mo. Ani siya guys. You notice nga, the AC Nelson reported that children between the ages 2 and 5 watch an average of 25 hours of television per week. Mo ni ilang claim. If I were to be AC Nelson, mo na ako nga, huy ka na mga bata nga 2 to 5 years old ba, kay ilang average of watching TV kay 25 hours. Pasabot ana, ang 25 is the population mean. Nagets? The 25 is a population mean. The sample mean is a 26.3 hours. If 20 kabuk children akong gipick, pangitaon na kog probability nga ilahang mean of hours or number of hours nga ilang mean is greater than 26.3. So 26.3 akong sample mean. Nagets? Nagets? And then akong standard deviation is 3 over the square root of 20. And that's equal to, pila man na? 1 minute. Sige, akong paspasan guys. 26.3 minus 25 over 3 over square root of 20. The answer is 1.94. Tama? Our z-score is 1.94. Gamit din ta sa table nga kantong inaani nga naay presentation. Nganong kaniman, sir? Because if you notice, if the data is like probability sampling, mupadong siya og standard curve, di ba? Kita mo ani? Now, alas 3 na. Let me extend 1 more minute. So, asa madapita ang 1.94? Na somewhere here. And which side am I going to consider? Which side I'm going to shade? Ang right side. Nganong right side man, guys? It is because we're looking for finding the probability that the mean of the number of hours they watch television is greater than 26.3. That's why I should be considering the area to the right of 1.94. And what's the process of solving the area? It is the same thing that ang ginabuhat nato before sa previous examples nato. Okay? Question, it's already 3:01. Oh my God. So the quiz, guys, will be tomorrow at 3 p.m. Wala assignment for today. No more questions? Kruk, 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 kruk. Yes, most of the time, guys, naara sa problem ang components to solve for the z-score. The only problem that you're going to encounter or inyong challenges is unsaong pag-identify. So you need to read the problem over and over again. Nga masabtan gid ninyo kinsay sample mean, kinsay population mean, kinsay sample size, kinsay standard deviation kay. If kay bawo mo automatic sayon lang kapag sabisot. And then you follow the process of how to solve for the desired area. Same raman sa atong previous nga problems. Again, unsa gani when gani to use the kanang ikaduha nga z formula nga naay standard error, you're gonna be using it if and only if the considered probability is from the sample. Okay? But if the considered probability is from the population, you use katong older nga z formula nato. Dili kani nga z formula. Okay? Kutas siya. Welcomes. So question, no more question. It's already 3:03. Basig na pa may klase next. I'm pretty sure na pa may klase. So for the recording of this session, guys, dili ni siya available right away because Google has to like load the recording. And once it is going to be available, I'm gonna immediately upload it sa Shello. Ha? Para at least naamoy ka ng something to check back ba? Okay? Question so far? Okay, maikot tas yung next period. Wala na? Okay. So I'm gonna end this meeting na guys to give way to your next class or your next instructor. Okay, pasig yayawan mo kay na late na mo 3 minutes. Buyers and take care everyone.
Bye, sir. Thank you, sir.
I'm gonna end this meeting na ha. How to end this meeting? Welcome, Daradi. Stop recording.